All right. Welcome everybody. I go by Paradise, and today I am wanting to share and broadcast this information of what I perceive to be civil rights violations that I have been unfortunate enough to be subjected to here in the town of Frederick, Oklahoma, in Tillman County. Um, I've lived here for about 4 years, and about 3 of those years, I've been embroiled in legal issues as a result of the law enforcement agencies and the way that they handle themselves in regards to what they consider to be legal authority. So, without further ado, let's preview what happens in this first video and get right to it. So, that right there, I'm going to pause it right there because I don't want to have too much of the kids and whatnot being shown. Something along the lines of a dispute that the YouTube algorithm doesn't like about that, from what I slightly glossed over. So I want to try to avoid that. But let's focus exactly and intently on what the officer claims. I was eventually arrested and put in the back of a squad car. Because I was defending the unlawful entry against the unlawful entry and intrusion upon our home. So, with that being said, let's see what he has to say as to the reason why he did that.
Well, you actually haven't. If we get dispatched to disturbance and I hear yelling and then I knock on the door comes open, there's no way your rights have been violated, okay?
All right, so that is the Assistant Chief Joe Rodriguez. He's doing a little bit of cop splaining there, and let's go back to the video here and see what it says. Now that you heard, he said that he heard some yelling coming from within the home, and that when he knocked on the door, that the door just came open. Oh, I missed it. Let's try that again. Oh, missed it again. All right, so that is a good enough still shot. So, which hand did he knock with? Um, I I think he knocked with his right hand, and it shows here at the bottom left hand corner of the screen that his left hand is what physically turned the doorknob and pushed the door open. So clearly there's a discrepancy there of the claims being made by the assistant chief on the face of what is on the video in contention with what he said. So what's that all about, right? Well, I'll tell you what that's all about. That is cop-splaining at its best. That's whenever a public official in a law enforcement agency um, takes it upon themselves to do as they see fit. And unfortunately for me, as a result of me defending the what I perceive to be a constitutional right violation, defending against what I perceive to be a constitutional right violation of them unlawfully entering the home. Not only that, they took me to jail on an obstruction charge and dragged me through court for 9 months and then dropped the case. Now they did so in a roundabout way by doing it without prejudice. And what that means is that they can essentially bring the charges back up if they so deem it necessary. Um, However, given what's in this video, I'm really not afraid of that Because first off, I don't know about you, but I didn't hear any yelling. And he clearly lied about how the door came open. So that's the assistant chief for you. Okay. Um, let's go on to the next video now, where I was up at the local municipal courthouse trying to educate myself on how to seek a remedy and um, how to affect change in regards to how they execute what they perceive to be as a legal authority to be able to enter one's home. First off and foremost, I want to preface this with saying you don't do it by going to the municipal courthouse. If you need to file a lawsuit against a public official, you don't do it at your local municipal courthouse. They're going to laugh at you, and they don't have the jurisdiction to prosecute one of their own, apparently. No, I learned this as a result of going down this long and arduous road, and potentially so you don't have to kind of ordeal. But two things I want you to pay attention to quickly in this video is that the timestamp is at 10:45, and that this space right here is empty. Okay, and that's becomes very relevant later on in the video. Um, Let me explain what I was doing here. I was utilizing the local law library that they do have here. I was trying to educate myself on how to get justice for these injustices that I had been subjected to. And I don't know if you know, but a lot of times whenever you get taken to jail, it costs money to get you out. I did not know of any kind of release on my own recognizance or anything like that. But they were more than happy to take and keep our money. So with that being said, I came up here to try and educate myself and use that local law library. And then in the process of doing so, I would come up here every week, every day of every week, and I would spend about anywhere from 3 to 5 hours in here trying to read up on things. And one of these days that I was up here, I was approached by Sheriff William Ingram alongside the Assistant District Attorney, Deanna Hansel. And as a result of dealing with a lot of the public officials in this town, I've learned that it's best to record them because they either don't know what they're talking about or they're lying. Um, However, in this particular instance, whenever they entered that law library, uh, they informed me with the modus operandi that they would then use today to accuse me of committing a crime. And Sheriff William Ingram himself laid out that as long as I don't get loud or become boisterous, that they won't have any problem. And it struck me as odd then, but I'm very glad that I got it on video. And unfortunately, as a result of the arrest that you're about to witness, or information surrounding the arrest that you're about to witness, they confiscated those phones. And it's been about a year and a half since that occurred. There's been no warrants to search the phones or anything to my knowledge. Um, and it's just been a very hectic, ridiculous, um, it's been a ridiculous experience. And I don't think anybody should have to be subjected to this kind of experience. So that's why I'm here sharing this information. So let's continue on. This is the chief of police, Joel Neely. And I called him to come to the courthouse because he had the sheriff's department issue a no trespass warning against me from going up to the police department because I had questions. Because I feel as though they do not handle themselves within the parameters of the law. So I had to call and request that his presence be made up at the courthouse because I had some questions in regards to the fallacious no trespass warnings. I hadn't broken any laws for them to try and trespass me from public spaces. So apparently I struck a chord with them, and they just want to impose this perceived authority that they think they have upon folks, and I'm here trying to rectify that. Now, to be honest with you, I could probably fast forward just a little bit now that some of that, but you heard it was really quiet there, right?
Right here.
Howdy.
Howdy.
So I
What's
was
going
just
on?
assaulted by one of these gentlemen that work within this courthouse.
Which gentleman?
Well, his name, I'm not even certain.
What does he look like?
He's bald headed. He's got a suit on. He went to that office.
Okay. Describe to me how he assaulted you.
Well, I was standing right here recording just like this. He reached to grab my hand, pressed real hard, and was trying to steal my phone.
Okay. All right. You want to write a statement?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I am
Okay.
not. How am I creating what the man assaulted me?
Okay. Let's go down to my car so I can give you a statement form so you can write it down.
I don't have to leave from right here.
Do you want a statement form?
Yes, you can bring
Then
it.
I'll go get it.
You can bring it. Thank you.
So what you witnessed right there is me giving a little pushback, and him essentially not commanding me to follow him, but him just kind of alluding to, yeah, come on with me. But I'll tell you right now, my experience with these folks is that, yeah, they're not on the up and up. So I knew that I was well within my right and my freedom to just be in a public space. And I was well within my right to have my phone on and recording in a public space. Um, the attorney that had assaulted me, let's rewind it just a little bit so I can preface some of this.
Do you want?
Let's go back a little further. All right, right here. So that woman right there who claimed that I was creating a public disturbance, it's interesting how she would have come about that information, because that's Assistant District Attorney Deanna Hansel. These two are public officials as well. They are jailers who work in the Tillman County Jail, and this guy in particular, he's an interesting fellow. He will lie to you and provide you with false documents in the jail when you request them, habeas corpus documents and things of that nature. Because I spent 8 days in jail as a result of this arrest. So I want to preface this video with what went on. So I was here at the local law library doing some studying, and I had a question in regards to why I was being trespassed from public spaces without having broken any laws. So I went into the court clerk's office right here, and then with that question, I was directed to go and speak to the judge who is in this office right here. Now, when I entered that office, there was 2 individuals seated in what appeared to me to be public seating, and one of them at the closest to the door here was the Oklahoma Indigent Defense Systems attorney Ronald L. Williams, and then aside from him was a district judge by the name of Brad Benson. And so whenever I walked in that room, they were completely quiet, and they were trained on me. They had their eyes trained on me, as if though they were waiting for me to engage them. So I took that opportunity to ask them, and specifically the judge, what is the legality of being trespassed from public spaces without having been accused even of breaking any laws. And he stood up from his chair and he shook his fat finger in my face, and then he started threatening to have me arrested by the sheriff if I didn't leave immediately. And so at that point, when he began to threaten me with arrest, I pulled out my phone to start recording the issue. And I want to go ahead and say this as well. I had no idea that these people would behave like this. That's why I kind of assumed that they would be on the up and up. So at this point, I was dumbfounded. I was flabbergasted. I was like, what is going on here? And so I pulled out my phone. I start recording, or attempt to start recording. And this judge tells me that he does not give consent to be recorded, or more specifically, that I do not have his consent to record him. Now, he's a judge in Oklahoma. He's a district judge in Oklahoma. And as I looked up, as I read, it says that Oklahoma is a one-party consent state law, meaning that one party can start recording, and that doesn't mean that they need the consent of anyone else. All right. So you would think that him being a judge, he would know that. And any reasonable person would think that a judge would know that. So clearly he was trying to intimidate me. And clearly, even further, he was trying to intimidate me because he was threatening to have me arrested. Okay. So then now those were the only two people in this room, right? So how this woman came out and claimed that I was creating a public disturbance only could have been with the information that was provided to her from the one of these two in this room, even though she wasn't in that room. Okay, so here's what happened. I left the room because I wasn't trying to be arrested, but I continued my recording. Before I left, I asked the judge if it was a restricted area in here, and he did not reply. So I was like, well, he's not going to reply. I'm really not trying to be arrested, so I'm going to leave. So I left and I stood right outside here in the foyer area, and I awaited to see what was going to happen next with my recording on. And that same attorney, Ronald L. Williams, who was sitting in there, approached me from this side of the foyer area, walked around, and he came up and parroted the exact same phrase that the judge had just moments ago said to me, that he did not give me consent to record him. And now, while I did have the phone trained in his direction, there was no specific intent to record him personally, at least not from my recollection. However, it really doesn't matter because I'm in a public space, and it is a First Amendment protected activity to be able to record public officials in the performance of their duty, as far as I know. And so for him to make that proclamation really just kind of adds him into the mix of trying to threaten me and intimidate me. And that is even more so prevalent whenever he tries to attack me and take my phone from me because I disagreed with him on the fallacious statement that he made that I needed his consent. Okay. So then that plays out. All right. Moments later, the sheriff comes up from the stairway here.
Do you want a statement for him?
Yes.
Let's rewind it just a moment. Oh, you know what? For posterity's sake, let's keep it going.
Sheriff, you might want to talk to the district attorney first. You might want to talk to the district attorney first.
Okay. So what you just witnessed right there is the chief of police, who I called there to make the report of the assault. All right. Now, what could have happened is that the sheriff walked around and asked me some questions and tried to assess what was going on there. All right. Being at this moment, I'm the only person with video recorded evidence of me being assaulted on camera by this lawyer. All right. But this chief wanted to make sure to insert himself and to give the sheriff a direction and a nod to go in this route so that he could be then directed by the assistant district attorney, Deanna Hansel, alongside the district judge, Brad Benson. I also think, yes, Ronald L. Williams was in that room with them as well, because after he had assaulted me, he absconded into that courtroom. So you got all three of those individuals in there conspiring to deprive me of my constitutionally protected rights. And I'll show you that it is documented that is actually a thing. It's called Title 18 United States Code. Oh no, it's Title 18, Section 241 of the United States Code. It is a conspiracy against rights. We'll go into more detail on that. Let's see if I can get. Yep.
Get away from me.
No problems. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so what was important about that is the chief wanted to be a part of the arrest that was made on me. You could have waited, he said. And then following that, the sheriff's reply was, I ain't got no problems. Okay, so if the sheriff doesn't have any problems, then in his probable cause affidavit, we will see what he claims to have had a problem with, even though he declared there on video that he didn't have any problems. Let's see if I can bring this up real quick. Oops. Suggested new. Yeah, I don't know why it's asking me that. Let's do always. Well, okay, here it is. Perfect. Now I've got it working again. Sorry about that delay. Let's stop this. Bring up another one. So this is the probable cause affidavit submitted by that sheriff. It reads as follows. Facts and circumstance that support probable cause to arrest the above named persons or person are: on February 28, 2023, at approximately 10:24 hours, I, Sheriff William Ingram of Tillman County, was dispatched to the Tillman County Courthouse located at yada yada, Frederick, Oklahoma, on a disturbance. On my arrival, as I entered the north side first floor doors, I could hear yelling coming from the upper floors. I immediately recognized the voice as belonging to Derek Lane Stillwell, myself, but was unable to make out what he was hollering due to the severe echo. On my arrival to the third floor, I made contact with Assistant District Attorney Deanna Hansel, and she advised that Stillwell had entered the district judge's office and started a verbal confrontation with the individuals in the office. At this point, Ronald L. Williams, an attorney for Oklahoma Indigent Defense System, stated that Stillwell had made contact with the district judge, Brad Benson, and had become agitated. He was subsequently asked to leave the office and then told to leave, but failed to do so. Stillwell then pulled out his cell phone and started recording. At this point, Judge Benson ordered him out of his office, and Stillwell exited the office out into the foyer and continued being disruptive to the entire building, to the point that the Oklahoma Indigent Defense System attorneys were unable to speak to their respective clients to allow the court to continue with its proceedings. At this point, I made contact with Stillwell and advised him that he was under arrest for creating a public disturbance. At this point, I placed a handcuff around his right wrist, on his right wrist rather, and he starts pulling away. I advised Stillwell to stop resisting, and he keeps pulling away. I used a wrist lock to gain compliance and get the second handcuff in place. At this point, I have not engaged the second lock on the handcuffs, and Stillwell keeps moving around. I finally get him to stop moving long enough to get the first handcuff released and get the double locks engaged. I then transport him to the Tillman County Jail, where he was booked in on the above charges. Okay. Let's review the charges. All right. So this reads as follows. Well, actually, I'm really not going to read the whole thing. This is just, if you want to, you're more than welcome to pause the video and read the bottom portion and their rendition of the supposed facts that they're claiming. However, I highly disagree that these fallacious statements are in any way, shape, or form factual. With that being said, the first charge, count 1, being disturbing the peace. Count 2, resisting an officer. Count 3, willfully disturbing, interfering, or disrupting state business. Okay. Those are the 3 charges that have been levied against me that are ongoing currently still to this day. It is now August 3rd, 2024. The events that occurred in this video happened on February 28th, 2023. So it's been quite a while, right? And so in this experience, actually, I kind of want to bring up the video again to show how the chief of police had inserted himself into this situation yet again, to try and find this extra charge to have applied to me, despite the conversation that was being had with the, I presume to be the district attorney and the assistant district attorney that the sheriff had on the phone while he was trying to write me up on charges. So let's try to go through that. Let's see if I can find it real fast. Booking. Oops.
Were they having court?
Let's pause it, play it back.
Were they having court? Did it disrupt the court? Did they have to stop?
Oh, I think they did.
Ooh, I think you got a charge. And also, um,
All right, so as you can see, this chief of police is very interested in having these charges applied to me at great lengths. Let's see if I can find where it happens. So this is actually a good area.
21,280.
Ah,
Not 21,280.
Oh, it's
There's a charge called
asking about another charge. So
Okay.
Because of his actions.
getting closer. Here we go, right here.
Hey, did he disrupt court? Well, I understand that, but he caused the court to have to be halted because of his actions. Okay, well, I was
disturbing the court in Oklahoma.
I was asking about another charge. So I've got disturbing creating a public disturbance and resisting arrest. I was just wondering if there was another charge we could get for causing the court.
disrupting court, Oklahoma.
Okay. Yeah.
He got everything, all he needed was boxes.
You got 2 charges: creating a public disturbance and reducing arrest.
Okay, so the sheriff had just gotten off of the phone with what I presume to be the assistant district attorney, Deanna Hansel, in a conversation that he was trying to apply another charge. And it seems as though the phone call was done, and then he had said, all right, we got 2 charges: creating a public disturbance, and then resisting arrest. Those are his claims. And at this point, the chief of police he's just not going to give up. He really hates me. So he wants to make sure that as many charges as possible can be applied to me.
There's a charge called disturbance, interference, or disruption of state business. It's a misdemeanor. It's Title 21-280. Unlawful for any person, alone or in concert, blah, 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 to do anything in the operations of an employee, an agent, an official, or a representative of the state to cause a disturbance, an interference, a disruption, or willfully refuse to disperse or leave the property.
Oh, okay. What was that?
21-280. It's Title 21-280. It's not 21-280.
Oh, it's 21-280.
Right.
Okay. I'm just noting that stuff.
All right, so you could definitely tell the vitriol with which they loathe me, and they have a special place of disdain for me in this place, in this town. And they don't know me. I'm a new resident of the area. I've lived here now for about 4 years, but you know, they don't want their behavior to be put under a microscope or to be broadcast. Well, here we are doing just that. And hopefully, with all of the information that I presented to you today, it will amount with the same opinion resulting from you that these people are rather fallacious in the way that they impose themselves under the guise of color of law, if you will. Let's see if I can't pull up some legal information here. All right. So it says here that under Title 18 United States Code Section 241, conspiracy against rights. Section 241 makes it unlawful for 2 or more persons to agree to injure, threaten, or intimidate a person in the United States in the free exercise or enjoyment of any right or privilege secured by the Constitution or the laws of the United States, or because of his or her having expressed or exercised such a right. Unlike most conspiracy statutes, Section 241 does not require as an element the commission of an overt act. The offense is always a felony, even if the underlying conduct would not on its own establish a felony violation of another criminal civil rights statute. It is punishable by up to 10 years imprisonment unless the government proves an aggravated factor, such as that the offense involved kidnapping, aggravated sexual abuse, or resulted in death, in which case it may be punished by up to life imprisonment, and even and if death results, may be eligible for the death penalty. Section 241 is used in law enforcement misconduct and hate crime prosecutions. It was historically used before conspiracy-specific trafficking statutes were adopted in human trafficking prosecutions. All right, now that we've got that one, let's look up 241. 242 rather. See if it finds in here. Section 242 of Title 18 makes it a crime for a person acting under color of law or color of any law to willfully deprive a person of a right or a privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. For the purpose of Section 242, acts under color of law include acts not only done by federal, state, or local officials within their lawful authority, but also acts done beyond the bounds of that official's lawful authority. If the acts are done while the official is purporting to or pretending to act in the performance of his or her official duties. Persons acting under color of law within the meaning of its statute include police officers, prison guards, and other law enforcement officials, as well as judges, care providers in public health facilities, and others who are acting as public officials. It is not necessary that the crime be motivated by an animus toward the race, color, religion, sex, handicap, familial status, or national origin of the victim. The offense is punishable by a range of imprisonment up to a life term or the death penalty, depending on the circumstances of the crime and the resulting injury, if any. So now that I have gone through all of that information with you today, I would like to conclude this StreamYard presentation on a good note, or on a positive note, rather. Being subject to this experience has taught me many things, and I unfortunately tend to be a slow learner, and I guess a little slow at things a lot of times, apparently. But effectually, this has helped me learn a lot about the procedures of how to hold public officials accountable. And one of the most notable things that I could share with you today is the following. If a public official has violated what you perceive to be a civil rights violation, then you can take it up with your local federal district court. And the way that you do this, it especially helps and applies even if you are a person of modest means who would be classified as indigent or just really poor, you know. So you call up this local federal district court and you talk to the people in the court clerk's office and you request of them if they have the ability to send you a pro se packet. Now, in my circumstance here in Oklahoma, they did not charge me for requesting this packet. They gave me no kind of headache whatsoever. They said, yeah, we can get that right out to you. What's your address? Where we need to send it? And they sent it. And within that packet, I learned how to file a civil rights lawsuit under 1983, making a 1983 claim. And also learned that you need to have a supplement of case law that backs up your position. They call it an established right. You also want to include any other evidence as well. And these are just some of the things that I have been privy to and had the ability to learn since these events occurred. Now, I have followed up in the first instance of the first video, and I have successfully made the filing. And the way that you get an ability to file a lawsuit without incurring any court costs, specifically if you are an indigent individual, you file along with your lawsuit a informa pauperis affidavit. And essentially what that does is it clarifies on a legal document that you are a person of an indigent status, and that will relinquish you from the impending court costs that are usually incredibly expensive for somebody who is poor. It's like $400 and $500 to make a filing, and that's every time you want to go up there and get that stamp on your piece of paper. So my dog's going wild out there. So that is most of the information that I have for you today. I want to thank you for your time and consideration in viewing this information. I hope we can all aim and strive for a better America. If we can't have one today, let's aim for one tomorrow. So with that being said, I hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend, and Paradise out.